But on Saturday, when Sir Keir Starmer, the Labour Party leader, comes out and says the BBC has caved into the government, you realise that the impartiality strategy has exploded, because the BBC, by taking this stand, gives the appearance that it has taken its orders from Downing Street and a right-wing tabloid press and a right-wing chairman who has kind of didn't declare his £800,000 loan or facility of a loan to Boris Johnson when he was Prime Minister, when he was applying for the BBC chairmanship job. And it just looks like the BBC has been acting on behalf and at the behest of the Conservative government. And that cannot be a definition of impartiality. And so when Gary Lineker turns round to the BBC and says, no, I'm not going to take this tweet down. No, I'm not going to apologise for it. The BBC puffs out its chest and says, we are all powerful, and then discovers it's not.
I also think this shows you a kind of redistribution, actually, of that balance of media power, because we grew up in a country where the BBC was all dominant because there wasn't really much else, quite frankly. You know, if you had this absolutely extraordinary plum job presenting Match of the Day on the BBC, then that should have been the be-all and end-all of where the power lay. But you see where Gary Lineker is now. He is a big figure. I mean, he's always been a big figure in his own right as a footballer, but he's also a big figure in his own right as a social commentator. He owns podcasts. He's got millions of followers on Twitter. And so suddenly, the idea of this monolithic cultural beast, which the BBC has always been, I think is slightly more ambiguous today because there are other avenues, quite simply, and one of those is social media.
There has been an arrogance of power, dare I say, at the BBC. And look, you know, for 38 years I worked at the BBC and loved my career, and I'm so proud of the BBC and all the journalism that it does, and you know, some of the stuff that it's just fantastic. But at the same time, as a member of staff, you have at times felt trampled on by their power.
The Newsagents. This is a Global Player original podcast.